What is good, everybody, and welcome to FPL Today Live. Thank you so much for joining the stream. First of all, what is everybody drinking? Strongbow Dark Fruit is the drink of choice. So just in case they're watching, plug Strongbow. You can sponsor the channel if you really want to. Also, apologies for not much content last week. We may get into that, we may not, but a video will come out where I kind of explain that. But we are still doing the streams and we are still seeing channel growth, which of course is great. So we'll just shout out some people in the chat and then we're going to get straight into the questions because we don't want a repeat of last stream where I was just so far behind the chat. It was absolutely ridiculous. So we got Shirahashi Balankandar. First person in the chat, probably one of the hardest names there to say. Thomas McCarthy, Jeff Hull, Anne O'Brien, JP43, Jamal Rice is also in the chat. We've got Mark Stolworthy, Anne O'Brien. We've got Patrick Corbett. That must be how you say it. Jens Horgan. I know I'm saying Jens Horgan's a patron. I know there's a bunch of you that are patrons as well, but Jens is one of the ones that sticks to my head because he's just become a Patreon. I know the audio is working, so I can stop listening to my iPad. Always like to do the double check. We got Benga as well, the False Nine. Morgan Larson, Callum Pearson. And I don't think I've missed anyone. We've got Dara M as well. So thank you all for joining the stream and we'll get straight into the questions. And if one of you does want to know why there wasn't much content last week, feel free to ask because that will probably jog me and at least get me to answer that question. Shuraharish. I'll get there eventually. Of course, we're going to smash our friends. Of course. First of all, though, the first thing we'll talk about is Jamal Rice bringing up Courtois. Now, I think this is great news for us FPL managers, potentially, because although they didn't really put it into practice very well against Manchester City, and let me actually change to the normal screen now we're actually talking FPL. It's clear that Sarri was kind of going for something similar to Pep Guardiola in that Charity Shield game, Community Shield. They both wanted to press quite high up the pitch and play out from the back. Now, Manchester City they've done it for a year. They're good at it. They're better than Chelsea are. Sarri's still got to work that system into play. But what I will say is it can be defensively effective. And if Courtois is leaving, potentially we're going to see a keeper brought in that could be 5 million. Now, Robert Hansen straight in with a donation. Just throwing those krona at me already. But anyway, thank you so much, Robert Hansen. Back to the issue of £5 million goalkeeper at Chelsea. Now, of course, you do have Leno at Arsenal, which could be a decent shout. And you can have a stick and forget £5 million option, which could be absolutely fantastic. So if that does happen, I like the idea of Kasper Schmeichel. I like the idea of Pickford. But my money is most likely on Butland. Butland would be the one that definitely wants to leave, that would be easiest to get. So I think Butland could go. Butland has got some Fantasy Premier League goalkeeping credibility with a lot of saves, to be fair to him. So that would be very, very interesting to me if the £5 million goalkeeper does go to Chelsea. If a more expensive option comes in, then I'm maybe not as interested as I currently am in that goalkeeping situation. So I think that's definitely one we need to watch closely because at the moment, the best way into that Chelsea defence, I feel, is probably David Luiz. Although Alonso was quite attacking in his game in the Community Shield against Man City. I know he didn't have the best performance. I'm not saying you have to bring him in. And I know he's probably going to be collared a little bit as far as how attacking he can be. But you can just tell when he plays, he wants to get forward. So 12 touches in the final third made by Marcos Alonso in that game. More than any other defender, including Benjamin Mendy, who got 9. So Marcos Alonso definitely still wants to get further forward. Successful passes in the opposition half. Alonso got 20, only second to Mendy. So it's quite clear that Alonso still wants to get forward. It's just he may be told not to. But there's still a chance he could be as effective. Now, am I going to risk it at the beginning of the season? Most likely not. But he's still got forward as much, if not more, than any other defender on the pitch. So I would definitely not just stop considering Alonso. Just maybe Luiz is the safest way, the most secure way into that side right now. So that's probably where I would look as far as Chelsea coverage, unless they get a £5 million goalkeeper. Thomas McCarthy letting you all know to like and share. If you could, that'd be amazing. Shraharish says he was, Courtois that is, was in Spain, pictured in Spain. Jeff Holt would like to know anyone else without Salah. So leave in the comments or the chat if you've got Salah or not. And if you don't have Salah, feel free to try and explain yourself, because I'd love to hear the reasons why not to own him. Also, there are poll questions you can answer as well, so go and answer those poll questions. I have updated them before the stream today, so well done me, pat on the back. A lot of people saying they think Butland is the one that's going to be going to Chelsea. I can't say I disagree. Jeff, you're on Pepsi. Pepsi? Maria's got it right. She's got some alcohol. How do you watch one of my streams without alcohol? And apologies if you can hear my daughter. She has just got a brand new bed. Brand new grown-up bed, because she can now get out of it whenever she wants. So, yeah. There may be more interruptions than there used to be, because she couldn't used to get out of bed. Callum Pearson, I'm starting to like you calling me daddy. It's getting a bit strange, though. Jamal Rice has Aguero as his vice-captain. That's something I would like to talk about as well. Aguero looked sharp in that game. And I still believe Jesus is a bit away from being a starter. And there is the potential of two up front. So I like Aguero right now. There is the risk, of course, that he won't start. But for me, there's a lot of pluses with Aguero as far as the type of player he is. And Man City rotation has been something that so many people are worried about. But Man City are a side that were first for goals last year, first for attempts on goal last year, first for big chances on goal last year. Literally any metric for attacking play that involved shots on goal, Man City were top. Meanwhile, everyone on Twitter and YouTube is saying only Kevin De Bruyne is nailed on, otherwise go Edison. But there were so many players that played a significant amount of games for Manchester City, and I think if we just watch Manchester City games and figure out his preferred starting 11, we can still pick players that will play the majority of games and get good points. Now, Sergio Aguero only started 22 games last year. Appearances 25 in total. We got 21 goals. If he gets any more starts than that, he's going to be one of the top scorers in the game. Aguero has that quality. Otamendi, 33 games last season he started. He got 4 goals, one of the top scoring defenders. Kyle Walker, 32 games. Kevin De Bruyne, yes, 36 games. But he got less points than Sterling, who started 29. And Sane, he got 179 points, 9th highest scoring player in the game. And he got 27 starts. So, in summary, I think there are definitely going to be options other than just De Bruyne and Edison. The way people are talking, Pep rotation is a real worry. And I don't think it is. So that is why I personally am looking at generally any Man City option that seems viable and seems like it's going to play a good number of games is going to be a good look. That and Liverpool, of course. Okay, so sorry, I can hear the family in the background. I'm wondering if the wife needs a bit of help. So if I do disappear, it's because it sounds like the wife needs a little bit of help. But I will be back. Don't worry, I will be back. See, I'm getting so much different feedback about the sound. Some people saying the sound is good. Some people saying it's too quiet. Some people saying it's perfect. Jamal is drinking Jamoon. I'm not even sure what Jamoon is. And Thomas McCarthy's on the homebrew. Benjamin Nutt, love the question about Coleman. Okay, my thoughts on Coleman and Everton. Silva is a great manager as far as getting his teams to attack. I've seen a lot of promising attacking football under Silva management. I don't see good defensive performances that often under Silva. And Coleman's bread and butter of points is going to be clean sheets. Yes, he could get 5 assists, he could get 3 goals, could get more than that, which will of course get you points, but then you also want the clean sheets for them to be one of the top scoring defenders in the game. I personally don't look at a Wolves side and think, not Wolves, an Everton side and think clean sheets. Yes, their start to the season is very, very good. Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, Huddersfield and West Ham in the first 5. So you could take the risk, of course. However, goals conceded last season, 64 goals conceded, Watford. Now, he wasn't manager there for the whole time, but that was the 3rd worst goals conceded record in the league. Total shots conceded was actually one of the best. They were 5th best in the league, 413. So to concede that many goals when they actually conceded less shots than Arsenal and Man United, that's quite telling. And then as far as shots on target, they're around mid-table. So they really shouldn't have conceded as many goals as they did with Watford. So I just feel like, and especially with the way their pre-season has gone, Everton's pre-season has not been good. Yes, they beat a side 22-0 or something crazy like that. But the other performances so far, yeah, they beat ATV Erdening 22-0. But they couldn't beat Bury. They couldn't beat Lille. They couldn't beat Porto. They couldn't beat Blackburn. They couldn't beat Rennes. And they couldn't beat Valencia. Now, Valencia, Rennes, okay, they could be tough opponents. But just, there's nothing that makes me want their defenders. As far as attacking, I would consider Toussaint. I would consider Sigurdsson, Walcott, Richarlison. All of them I'd consider. But Coleman, yes, I was one of those that was hoping for a return to form for Seamus Coleman. But just, I can't take the risk of bringing in Seamus Coleman when he's just, the whole Everton defence has been underperforming. So, that's my thoughts on Coleman. Felipe Anderson, the new Payet from Posty76. It's possible. Felipe Anderson is a creative player who could come into the league and do very well. There's high hopes for Felipe Anderson. And from what I've heard, he's had a decent pre-season, has shown some of what he can do. Last season, if we have a look at what he did for Lazio, we've got a player that played, to be honest, didn't play that many games. 9 starts by the look of it, with 12 substitute appearances, 4 goals, 7 assists. Now, for the amount of time he played, that's pretty decent, to be fair. 3 man in the match ratings as well, 7.45 overall. To be fair, when you're not playing that often, that's a decent return. The season before, 33 starts, 4 goals, 9 assists. Season before that, 21 starts, 7 goals, 4 assists. 2014-2015, 23 starts, 10 goals, 7 assists. So he is going to be returning some points, and that's not a bad total for a £7 million player. So Felipe Anderson, the amount they spent on him, West Ham, I think you're looking at someone that could be an option, but I want to see how he settles into the Premier League first. I don't want to just jump on the bandwagon just because he's got a bit of hype. Ricardo Pagan, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you in the chat. Glad to have you on board. 90 people watching at the moment. Decent figure. I think highest we've had pre-season so far is about 160. So if we could get anywhere near that again, that would be absolutely epic. Shriharish. Really going to struggle with that, aren't I? Louise or Stones? Don't know if Stones will start. I personally would probably go Louise just because he seems a lot more nailed on. I believe he's played every single game of pre-season, one of the most minutes played of any Chelsea player. So I would go David Luiz. Stones, of course, was in the World Cup as well. I know he started in the Community Shield. Usually the Community Shield would be a good barometer, I think, for who's going to start. But I know I've just spoken about don't worry about Manchester City rotation so much. But I think I would worry with Stones enough that I would pick David Luiz. Benga Sofalu, I want to bring up your point. Health warning, don't touch Southampton or Everton defence. I completely agree with you. Maybe if you're bringing in a 4.5 or a £4 million option, fine, bring him in. But there's nothing about Southampton or Everton that makes me want to invest in their players right now. David Brooks in the chat saying I helped him out a lot last year. I'm glad I could do that for you, mate. Hopefully I can help you out this year as well. We've got Anne O'Brien, Foster. This is a team, by the way. I will answer these, but I'm going to pick out the things I would change instead of just going into too much detail. Don't mind the goalkeepers. Defence, Bailly seems a bit of a risk. Klein seems a bit of a risk, long term at least. Potentially they both might start, but I think Bailly has an injury. If I just quickly check. I felt like I saw it. There he is. Ankle injury. Says he could be back by the 10th, so he might start, but he does have an injury concern hanging over his head. Alonso, I'm not going to take the risk on Alonso right from the beginning, but I think Alonso could still be a good pick as we just go over 100 viewers watching right now. Salah, Mane or Sane, so I'm assuming Mane or Sane. I would go Sane with Salah, although to be honest I think Bernardo Silva or Mahrez might be better options than Sane, just from what Pep Guardiola has said in his press conferences. But I would just cover your bases and not double up on a team just yet. Jota, I like. Richarlison, I like. Pedro, he didn't offer much goal threat in the game against City, but that might be because it was against City. So we need to take that into account. But he didn't look great in the Community Shield. We've got Orba, I like. Zaha. Zaha's played in midfield a bit, behind the striker and on the wing. But Zaha is a promising player. Then another team, so literally this or this. Again, the keepers are the same. I like Mendy. I like Robertson. I've already said my piece on Coleman and Alonso. Salah, Mane or Sane. So midfield's pretty much the same. And then you've got Morata and Lacazette. Morata really didn't look good in the Community Shield either. But again, that could be against Manchester City, whose press was quite hard by the looks of it for Chelsea to deal with. Can you show your team? My team should be on the screen right now. If you want to see the team bigger, I will hide my face. And there is my team. So I'll leave that up for a bit while I chat away, just so you can get a better look at what I could be rocking with. Just because I know a lot of you have said before that it's hard to see my team sometimes. So, you know what? I listened to your feedback and I came up with another screen where you can see my team quite prominently. Mitrovic. My worry with Mitrovic, Homelander, is I just feel like he's had his chance in the Premier League with Newcastle and wasn't amazing. His temperament also isn't that good. However, I do think there's potential for him to be really good. Whether I'd start with him, I don't think so personally. Abdul Fariki, again, I've butchered another pronunciation. Mane or Firmino, I mean, for me it's Salah, first and foremost. But if you really don't want Salah, I personally prefer Firmino. As far as points last season, I think Firmino scored more, if memory serves me correct, but I think Mane was injured. So I prefer Firmino, but Mane does look like he could possibly be on penalties. We'll have to wait till Firmino's back to see that. As far as starting the season, I think Firmino's a lot more likely to start the season. Robert Hanson calling me a silly goose with his donation there. The fact that I've only just got to that donation already worries me that I'm a bit behind. Who else has ditched Orba, Lacazette and gone to Aguero? The false nine, I completely understand your point because Aguero looked really good in that Community Shield game. I'm not ditching Orba or Lacazette because they've also looked good to me as options. I have, as you can see, gone to Lacazette, so I had money to also have Aguero. I think balance-wise, if Lacazette and Aubameyang are playing, I'm hoping that Lacazette is close enough to Aubameyang that then, because I also have Aguero, that is a good move. So that is why. So I suppose I did ditch Auba, but I ditched Auba for Lacazette and then changed the striker to Aguero. Now the only issue, and really the only coverage that I really wanted, that I've kind of let go of to do this, is I wanted Sanchez, because I had a gut feeling that Sanchez, if he starts up front, could do well at the beginning of the season. He looks hungry. So I was a bit worried that not having Aguero would be a bit detrimental. Not having Sanchez might be a bit detrimental. But Aguero just looked on form. Okay, so we got Arsalan Hussein. Would you let your main striker Lacazette versus one who defends Mendy, as you will lose points if he doesn't score? I personally think that game is going to be high scoring, so I don't see Mendy getting a clean sheet. The reason he's still there is he could still get an assist. He could still have a good performance. And it's possible that, because there always seems to be this, for a lot of people, this conflict of, I can't have a defender and a striker playing each other in a game week. Well, actually, if Lacazette goes and scores a hat-trick, the fact that Mendy doesn't keep a clean sheet, I can probably get over. So, and vice versa, if Lacazette doesn't score but Mendy gets a clean sheet and an assist, I can get over the fact that Lacazette didn't score. So I'm not one of those that is anti having Mendy and Lacazette playing in the same game. What do you think of Fabianski and Begovic, 9 million rotation? I've got no issue with it. I'm not Begovic at Bournemouth. I just don't think Bournemouth are defensively a solid team after last season. So I would have picked another one of their defenders, because their defenders do have attacking threat. So I like Fabianski. I've gone with Foster as the rotation, although I'm keeping an eye on that Chelsea situation. Patrick Corbett, Bernardo Silva. Now, I got so much stick over this, and I actually took him out on my side. And then after watching that Community Shield game, Patrick, I put him back in because Pep seems high on him. He looked one of the most important players for City on that field. And as Jens Horgan said, slightly below, Pep said Bernardo Silva is on another level right now compared to the rest of his side. He seems high on Bernardo Silva. Now, this could be mind games, of course, and then Bernardo Silva doesn't play and Arsenal are prepared for Bernardo Silva. But just from what I've seen and what I've read, Bernardo Silva at that price looks like a steal. So that's why I've gone Bernardo Silva. And to be honest, part of me is a bit fed up of going with the template and what a lot of other people are picking. And I think everyone's going Sane or Mahrez. So that is why I've gone Silva. Could work, it might not work. But, you know, life's about taking risks sometimes. You're not going with 4 in midfield, Benjamin Nutt? I'm going with 5 in midfield at the moment, if you can see my side. So Ezzo127 says Firmino and Richarlison or Raul and Auba. A lot of people talking about Raul. I think I'm saying that right. Guy from Cardiff. Now, his pre-season, he's not set the world alight, but from what I understand, he is one of their main players. He is on set-piece duties, so there's the potential there for points from a very cheap player. I think Auba could have a really good season. I think Firmino could also have a good season. If I'm going between Richarlison and Raul, I worry about Richarlison purely because of his drop-off last season, but there's a lot of hope and hype around Richarlison. I would probably go Firmino and Richarlison, but Raul would be the differential pick, which could work out better for you. Nihal Mohammed, who will start in Wolves' defence? If I've got any notes on that, because I don't think I do. Okay, so Wolves' defence. Don't really have any information on that. I've got some goal scorers and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I really don't know. Got no idea. So I'm not going to answer and be wrong. A lot of people saying get Bednarek. Weaselmont, evening to you. Okay, so we've got Bernardo and Mane or Keita and Sane. Let's just see how far behind I am in the chat. That'd be the wrong one to be clicking anyway. Not too bad, I don't think. Hopefully. Actually, maybe I am that far behind already. So we're going to quickfire some of these. Apologies. Bernardo and Mane or Keita and Sane? Bernardo and Mane. Easy for me, Zach Nor. I think Keita, from what I've heard, actually does get forward and is a bit of a box-to-box power midfielder. But from what I've heard about Sane, I think Mane and Bernardo may be the better pick for you. If I had to choose between Lana Del Rey Masterclass or Jota Game Week 1 hat-trick, what would you do? I would say Jota Game Week 1 hat-trick. I really like the look of Diego Jota. Weezemont, tell your other half she needs Salah. Elite Gamer, do I play Fortnite? No. I have considered dabbling in it. Purely because some people say it's so much fun, but some people hate it. But it is the big thing on the gaming scene right now, isn't it? JP43, in your first 11, you've only got 3 players above 20% differential. Do you not think that's 20% ownership? Do you not think that's a bit too much differential? You know what? Potentially it is. If I actually have a look, and we look at ownership. Now, goalkeeper-wise, I'm never that likely to have the highest owned goalkeeper because it's De Gea. Pickford, I'm not worried about, purely because of World Cup exploits. Don't know if he's moving, all that kind of stuff. De Gea, I probably wasn't going to risk it. Fabianski, so I've got the third choice highest keeper. I'm not going to own Trippier because I don't think he's going to start the season, or Maguire. Daniels, I'm not sure about Bournemouth's defence. It would just be a straight swap with Adam Smith. I've really wanted the coverage. Van Dijk, I think, is covered by Robertson as far as ownership. So, defence-wise, I'm not going Chelsea because I just, after that performance, I don't feel like putting my money on Chelsea. So, I've got some of the highest owned defenders there. Well, literally, I've got Robertson. I think Mendy could go up in ownership, though. As far as midfielders, I've got the highest owned midfielder. Don't have De Bruyne because I don't think he's going to start. Kante, I'm never going to have Kante, personally. Sane, again, not 100% sure what his position is in that side. Eriksen, don't think he's going to start. Mkhitaryan, I've considered Mkhitaryan over Pedro, potentially, but I'm going for balance in my side. Richarlison, I have had him at times. I've now changed to Goodmanson. Mane, I'm covering that with Salah captain. And then as far as strikers go, Firmino is the highest owned striker, but I've got Salah. Kane, I don't think is going to start. Zaha and Arnautovic, I don't own, but I have Aguero and I have Lacazette. So I actually don't feel like my team is that too much a differential side. And I don't want the percentages just to affect me too much, if you know what I mean. We have a Wildcat in the house, FPL Nimfria. If you didn't know, by the way, all 143 of you, just thought I'd throw that out there. I do also live stream with the FPL Wildcats, so go type that into YouTube. We should be streaming tomorrow, where it's 4 of us talking about FPL. And as long as it doesn't go over time, I do talk in the streams. I know some of you messaged me going, you weren't talking at the end. Yeah, that's because my wife wanted to bring the kid to bed. And yeah. Long story short, I needed to go, but the flow of the conversation was still going. But shouldn't have an issue with that tomorrow. So come and join along, ask your questions. We will answer as many questions as we can. Bit more selective as well, because we do talk for a while and there's 4 of us. So we will select the best questions. Don't hate on Kurt too much if he doesn't select your question. Just saying. David Brooks, I've got Mane over Salah, a lot cheaper, and I see them both starting fairly the same. See, I just think Salah's a different class, personally. From all the football I watch, and I watched a lot of Salah last year, I think he's a different class. I think he's a great player, and I think he's worth the 13 million if I'm captaining him. If I'm ever at a point where I'm not captaining him anymore, that is when I would transfer him out. JP43 is annoyed that so many people have jumped on the Aguero train. He knew before the Community Shield. Just so you all know, all of us who have jumped on it now, JP43 knew before us. Sven, what do you think about Sane? To be honest, I was high on Sane, and then I started seeing Pep talk about him. I started seeing other options in that Man City midfield, so I'm not as high on Sane as I was. Hence why Silva's in my side. And to be honest, if I was going to upgrade, it would probably go to Mahrez. Sudoku fish. I mean, I've always said I will never shy away from answering questions. It says, Daddy JNA, would you rather nail Lucy Pinder or know for a fact Bernardo Silva was nailed on for the season? Well, I'm married and I have kids. And I love Fantasy Premier League. So I would have to say Bernardo Silva. If I knew Bernardo Silva was nailed on, that would be legit great news for me. Especially if I call it and then it happens, I'm going to be very happy. If he shoots up in value, that would be good for me as well. How's Jorginho? Now, from what I can tell, he's going to be involved in the play a lot, Homelander. I just worry he's not going to get forward enough. He's going to be the deep-lying midfielder, and then the two around him are going to be the ones that get forward. It was Fabregas and Barkley in the Community Shield. That could, of course, change when players come back. I feel like Jorginho might be the one that has, or Jorginho, or however you say it. I'm rubbish at pronouncing names, so I feel like he might be one of those players that has the pass before the assist, which can get very annoying. Uzeri Ali says, risky having Silva for 7.5, considering he's been replaced in Gameweek 3 or even 2. Doesn't make sense having a player that expensive for such a short period. I'd agree with you if Pep Guardiola wasn't saying how great Bernardo Silva is. Also, you've got to consider David Silva. It's been said that he's going to play less, so Bernardo Silva could come in for that David Silva role. I just personally think he will have at least 2 or 3 game weeks, and I feel like if he doesn't keep playing after that, I have transfers to make, and I'm going to play my wild card quite early anyway. If I don't play it by game week 8, I'll be surprised. So I can do something with that if he doesn't play, and if he does, then I'm just going to leave him in. So I can understand people worrying, but I'm never that confident with Pep, but just everything he's done suggests to me that he's going to play Bernardo Silva a lot more this season. Gerard Pro, do you guys spend all of your budget or do you save some for later transfers? Again, you can answer that in the comments or the chat. I keep saying comments because I'm used to doing videos. In the chat, answer that question. Do you guys have any budget left over? I will let you know if I have any budget left over. I have 1.5 million remaining, so I can upgrade to Mahrez. I can upgrade Pedro. I could upgrade Jota, Goodmanson. So I can bring in Mkhitaryan. I've still got moves I can make. This isn't nailed on. It probably won't be nailed on until the deadline's finished. Transfer deadline's finished. But yeah. Exactly, Wilson. Aguero is class. Just last season, because of injuries, because of rotation, he didn't get as much game time. But I think if he stays injury-free, which is unlikely, he does score points. And if you just have him at the right times, yes, he may not end the season as one of the top scorers, but his explosiveness when he is playing can be crazy. Is on the same level of the likes of Kane. So I think Aguero is a player that, if you can have him in your side when he's on form, he's going to do business for you. Real DMC, best £5 million midfielder. I've got Neves. What about Jorginho? Now, as far as I'm aware, if Neves is still on penalties, although I'm not sure of that, Neves is a decent shout. If I go to 5 million... I mean, if Kante stays, he's going to get game time. So you could go for Kante. Stevens, a lot of people have because he's the budget one. But he is starting, so that's why a lot of people have him. Wilshere, you never know. He could hit the ground running, playing a bit more advanced. So that would be one to keep an eye on. I'm not saying put Wilshere in your sides by any means. I think there's going to be better options there, but you never know. Kearney is a very important player for Fulham. If Fulham do well, you'd think Kearney's going to be a big part of that. Kennedy, again, when the season gets a bit easier, Kennedy could be a great shout at 5 million. Masuaka could be playing left wing, potentially, or at least further forward. So keep an eye on that one, because apparently his delivery's been epic. We have a new subscriber, Ketan Banerjee. Thank you for joining the flock. Can we get some birds in the chat? Other than that, Hudson-Odoi, I suppose if he plays enough, could be an option. But then I'm probably not looking at anyone else after those ones. Costa, if he plays, potentially, could be one to be considering. But that is pretty much it as far as what I would be looking at in the £5 million bracket. JB43, I'll triple up on City and Liverpool. To be honest, I'm very tempted to triple up on City and Liverpool. I'm just not sure. The thing with... I have no issue with having a defender and an attacker from a side. When I'm tripling up, I need that midfielder or that striker to be decent value for money. The problem with Mane and Salah is I feel like that's a lot of my budget on Liverpool if I go with Robertson as well. So I'm not tripled up on Liverpool just yet. As we get another person joining the flock, Azzy has joined the flock, and we have another leather pants. Wow. Do I have to wear leather pants? Do you know how hot it is in England? We have another donation from Robert Hansen. Thank you so much, Robert. You've really been making it rain in the streams. It's much appreciated. Can we get some hearts in the chat for Robert? But yeah, leather pants ain't happening until at least autumn time, mate. At least autumn. So we have, next question, Lacazette or Firmino? I mean, if you have Salah, Lacazette. If you have Orba, Firmino. Like, it's about balance, I think, at the beginning of the season. So, David Siljan has just joined the flock as well. It's popping off right now. Yeah, I think it's all about balance. I actually think they're both going to have good seasons. I couldn't tell you which one I think is going to be better. But, yeah, I think it's about balance. If you have Salah, then I'd go Lacazette. Posty saying, I keep thinking I can hear my kids, but it's yours. That wouldn't surprise me, mate. My kids are loud. False nine's gone from Lacazette to Aguero, so downgraded from Mahrez to Bernardo Silva. Sounds perfect. Are we really talking about sound? How far am I behind? George Studley, there's been a lot of talk about having no premium forwards, having like the £7 million options, and then stacking the midfield. The points were in midfield last year, so that's definitely something you could consider. Just, if a striker does score big in a season, then you're going to want him around. Eddie Guna, big up JNO, thank you so much. Liam Shannon, how many channels do you have, mate? I have 3 subbed. This one, JNO, which I haven't done anything on in ages, and FPL Wildcats is actually like a joint venture, so it's not my channel. FPL Nimfria, I think I've covered Bernardo. I think there's a good chance he might be nailed, but if he isn't, that's what my transfers are for, so I'm not too worried about it. Gerard Pro, exactly. Pep said, I've got Bernardo Silva and 10 others. Ripan Dutta, I know that Pep can like stab us in the back pretty much, but I just got to go with my gut, and he looked good enough for that sentence to make sense. Thoughts on Fraser? He's had a good pre-season, so at his price, Ryan Fraser looks good. So I wouldn't mind having him as if he's going to be your 4th or 5th choice midfielder, then there's no harm, Netby, on having Ryan Fraser. He has looked good. Well, look, there's 2 ways the Bernardo Silva thing can go. He could play 1 or 2 games and then get dropped. And then if that happens, you use your transfer, bring someone in. If you've got a bit of money on the bench or you've got moves you can make, you can bring in a Man City option that is playing. Or he stays nailed on and you've already got him and you get all the price rises. So I'm not too worried either way with Bernardo Silva. I know a lot of people clearly are because it keeps coming up in the chat, but I like the look of it. Uzayr Ali, I have no desire to have Charlie Austin in my side at all. I want my money in midfield. I've decided, I've made the conscious decision, I want more money in midfield than I do up front. And I'm happy with having 2 good strikers, and then the third one just is a bench option that hopefully he plays. If there's an option that around the same price that does always play, he will come in, but he's going to be a bench player. So, yeah, I'm happy with having 5 men in midfield that I want to play. So, I don't see that changing. Jens Horgan going for less new signings. I would always approach new signings with caution because we don't know how they'll do in the Premier League, but there are situations where you can ignore that. Like, for instance, Zlatan Ibrahimovic was just that good a player. Salah had the underlying stats from Italy to suggest he'd do good. Maybe none of us realised he'd be that good, but he was a decent value choice for compared to the other ones around him into that Liverpool side. So I think you can bring in transferred players, but yes, I would always approach them with caution. Toussaint, Rashford and Zaha. I mean, I'm not sure about Rashford. Again, World Cup duty. Didn't appear a lot, so he could still start, but I wouldn't say Rashford is necessarily nailed on. Rip Anduta, I just think Diego Jota is a class above Costa. That's my personal feeling. So that is why I've gone Jota for now. Ben Davies, I'm assuming Ezo, you're talking about Ben Davies. From what I've heard, he is going to be playing centre-back at the start of the season. So that is why he's not in there at the moment. I do like Ben Davies as an option, though. And if Danny Rose ever left Spurs, then yes, I'd be on Ben Davies very quickly. But I just feel like there's value elsewhere, whereas all Spurs options are 6 million. So that's why I don't have Davies. Jens Horgan, anyone contemplating Townsend versus Milivojevic? I think that second one might have been close. Townsend's had a good pre-season, getting quite a few assists, so that's one you could consider. Decent price. Everyone wants me... Well, I don't know if Ezo said that already. Bednarak, you should get him in. I might get him in. That defence is pretty nailed, though, apart from the 2 on the ends, Dunk and Adam Smith. What do I think about Gray at Watford? He could be a good choice. The reason I'm not going for him at the moment is because I've already stuck my flag in having 2 pretty premium priced strikers and then the cheap striker that I could find. So Gray would be one to consider. Do I look at Watford and think they're going to have a good season? Not particularly. So that is why I'm not really gone there. Drippy Nose. Do I think Lacazette will be a starter? Everything from pre-season suggests Lacazette will start with Aubameyang playing out wide. Again, could be completely wrong, but that's what pre-season has suggested. I think Emery is going to play them both. And I mean, Emery should have some familiarity with Lacazette. I think he was a manager in France while Lacazette was there, although they may have just missed each other. Jens Horgan, what I really liked about Silva is in the press, he literally was almost next to Sergio Aguero in the high press. His job was to get forward and press one of the centre-backs. So if they manage to win the ball early, I think Silva could be in great positions. I've got Aguero and Orba week 1. Can't see a problem with that, real DMC. Apparently Courtois is live streaming now as well. You'd think the Wildcats would get their act together and realise when each other's streaming. But that's definitely interesting. I did not know he was streaming today. Sanchez or Eriksen for the start of the season summit? I would definitely go Sanchez. Eriksen, don't think it's going to start. Over the entire season, I have more faith in Eriksen and the Spurs side. I think Eriksen has got to the point in his career where he's just that reliable in a Spurs side where I think it plays to his strengths. Sanchez, Man United, I'm not sure it's really working as well as it could do. Could, of course, change, but yeah, if Sanchez was up front for Man United, I would definitely be very interested. Alonso or Aspie? If I was going to go for either of them, I'd probably go Alonso because it looked like Azpilicueta was playing right back. And if he does continue to play right back, I think Alonso's more of a natural wing back. So going back to last season, that would be a lot tougher a question, but I think I'd still go Alonso. Christopher McBride wants me to swap Lacazette for Vardy. I just think Arsenal's fixtures get very nice after game weeks 1 and 2. That could be something I'd do, but then I'd be planning a transfer ahead of time, and I don't want to do that when I'm not 100% sure on who is playing where. King, Austin or Wilson? I would definitely go King right now. King's the one with the pre-season form. Really don't like the look of Southampton strikers. They've burned me too much in the past. Template formation is, I think this season you're going to see a lot less template formations, personally, Eddie. I think 3-4-3 has always been the go-to, but I'm planning on playing more midfielders than last year, so we'll see. Usray Ali, Mane or Sane if you have Salah already. I mean, I'm not... Sane could, of course, come out and prove me completely wrong first game of the season, but I think Sane is a bit more worrying to me than he was about 3 weeks ago. Mane I prefer over Sane because I think Mane's position in that Liverpool side is pretty nailed on. But if I already had Salah, I would go Sane. Best 6.5 million midfielder. There's a lot of players that could really break out at that price bracket. So I think one of the things to do is to jump on that as soon as possible. I think the ones we need to be watching are Richarlison and... I mean, Neves could still have a great season, but it's Richarlison for me. You've then got Jota. Schürrle, he's a World Cup winner. I mean, there's nothing about him underlying stats-wise that actually makes me think anything. But he could play a very good role at Fulham. Just, I wouldn't quote me on that, though. Kennedy, but that's quite a bit under 6.5. I literally think the ones we need to watch are Jota and Richarlison. I think those two, one of those two could be the ones that breaks out as a good 6.5 million option. David Siljan, who's more nailed in your team, Goodmanson or Jota? Probably Jota, but I feel like Burnley's got a good start to the season. I'm worried about the injuries in Europa, but I think Jota is probably my favourite option. Andre Babunski, I actually have quite a lot of money in midfield. I mean, 13 million is a lot. In midfield at the moment, I've got 20.5, 21, 27, 33.5, 33.5. So just under 40 million, 39.5. I think that's quite a bit in midfield. I think the thing you're seeing is you're seeing a lot of under 8 million. But if I look at Man City, anyone in that midfield that I want over Silva, De Bruyne I don't think is going to start. Sane I'm not confident in. Mahrez potentially. But Silva just looks so good. Sterling isn't probably going to start the season. I mean, if Foden could stay in that side, he looked good as well. But there's no one I'd rather have Man City-wise. Chelsea-wise, I think part of me is just worried Chelsea will have a good start despite what I saw. But I don't think Hazard's going to start. There's worries about his future as well, although it looks like he's probably going to stay. Willian, again, I would prefer Willian, but is he going to start? He did come on off the bench, I believe, in the Community Shield. Other than that, Fabregas, Barkley, none of them I'm confident in, so that's why Pedro's there. And then Jota is one of my attempts at a differential, although he might be quite highly owned now. 6.3. And then Goodmanson is for the Burnley fixtures. I mean, I could go with an Arsenal midfielder as well, but I've got Lacazette, and I feel like Lacazette and Aubameyang are the best two options that you can go for in that Arsenal side. For the record, Andreas Marco Jensen, my Foster is the the former West Brom, now Watford goalkeeper. So that is not Forster, the Southampton option. Just so you know. But who do I think is going to start for Southampton goal? No idea. Not even risking it. Oh, you got me on big screen, have you, Nim? I think when I'm just on the team screen, I haven't put it up as much. So yeah, that's probably why it got quieter there. I would go into Bernardo Silva Sane, but I think I've talked so much about that now, I'm not sure I want to risk it. 164 people watching right now, that's pretty impressive. 54 minutes though, so I do have to start trying to wrap this up. So we're going to try and quickfire a bit. Yeah, again, Shashank, if Pedro starts to get rotated, I've got money to make the upgrade to Willian. Jens Horgan, I think Lacazette's going to have a better season than he had last year, which is why I'm going with him. Matthew Ashton, I did apologise at the start of the stream. I did have a video up yesterday, but I agree. I've not posted as much as I usually would, especially in the pre-season. But here I am. I did a stream last week. There were 3 videos last week. Sven, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold could be a steal. I just don't think he's going to start the season. So I definitely think he could play an important part to my season, but he's not in my side right now. I mean, I personally don't think my defence needs that much upgrading. I've got 2 big hitters in defence. Oh, we got another donation from Robert Hansen. Thank you so much, my friend. I mean, you're just starting to dominate the donations, aren't you? You're going to be climbing up that leaderboard at the bottom in no time. How far behind am I on the chat anyway? Because I might, even though I started answering questions straight away, you guys are absolutely destroying the chat. I haven't even got to the last donation. Yeah, I'm so far behind. So, if you're wondering why the silence, I'm now trying to figure out what to do, because that's how far behind I am. Silva or Sane? If it's Bernardo Silva, I go Bernardo Silva over Sane. And that's for Ezzo127. I'm just going to pick out some questions. What do I think about Chelsea's defence? I think it might take time to get used to playing the Sarri system. I think it could be good for us in the future, though. Alonso Azpilicueta, I've already answered that, but it was Alonso. Yeah, a lot of repeated questions, in fact. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go to the bottom and just scroll up a bit, see what questions I can get. Thoughts on Lucas Moura to start the season? I think that's not a bad shout as long as it's short term, but he looks decent off of pre-season. He looks like the best cheap way into that Spurs team. Just I think their pre-season's been so disrupted by the World Cup that I'm not going for any Spurs players. Ricardo Pereira, I've not seen many people mention him. I think he's a great, great player, and I think Leicester have really done well to get him. I'll be keeping an eye on him. He's not in my side yet, but I'll be keeping an eye on him. Arnautovic versus King, I'd probably still go Arnautovic. Arnautovic is the type of player that's greedy enough to still score goals. If Brett on Nim start, I've got to go get a new device. We generally try not to stream at the same time, to be fair. And I'm the one that kind of streams the most. Phil Potter with a very bold statement. Sanchez will outscore Salah this season. I mean, it's possible. Sanchez has been in my side. I'm definitely still considering him. Glass Moon, if a good keeper goes to Chelsea to replace Courtois and is 5 million, they're going in my side. My plan for De Bruyne, I don't think I'm going to have De Bruyne. I think there will be a midfield Man City option that will score more Ketan Banaji than De Bruyne. So that is a bold statement, but I personally think Mahrez, Sterling, Sane, if any of them are nailed on, could outscore De Bruyne. David Brooks, if you sent that at 9 minutes 33, I'm way too far behind. So what we may have to do, because I actually started answering questions straight away, I may have to start to pick and choose questions, which I know a lot of people didn't want me to do. But when the questions are this thick and fast, I feel like I'm either rushing them and not really answering, or I'm answering questions and then not seeing other people's answers. Or maybe we have to get questions from Twitter, because the plus side of Wildcats is whilst people are talking, you can then go look for questions. Because I'm always talking on my own streams, can't really look for the questions. I've not tripped up on Palace. I've literally only got one in, and it's Wan-Bissaka. Really like the look of him, but again, I'm ready to take him out if there's another 4 million option that looks better. Lacazette has 2 hard fixtures at the beginning of the season, but then I don't think his fixtures are hard once he's got past those 2. Now, Arsenal against Chelsea, I can see going either way. Man City Arsenal is historically a high-scoring game, and then after those 2 games, it's West Ham, Cardiff, Newcastle, Everton, Watford. 2 games to get past, and then it's a nice-looking run. Leather pants for the missus. I'll see if I can convince her. Might just be for me, though. Anyway, guys, I'm probably going to... Although I've seen AM Saturday, good to see you. And Owen Bowles, thank you guys so much for joining. Florence Sandor, I think you've just joined as well. So I've seen you guys, I've seen you. But unfortunately, I am going to call it an end here. So thank you guys so much, all 166 of you, for watching. It's been absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, I cannot do the really long streams like I did last season because of the newborn. I don't know, you probably can't see it. In fact, I think you can see it if I go that way. That's a cot behind me. The youngest is now sleeping in a cot. So I have to finish these streams at a certain time. So apologies to everyone about not doing the really long streams. We're going to have to figure something out as well when she starts going to bed at a specific time as well, about streaming and stuff. Work something out with the missus. But thank you guys so much for all your support. If you want to support the channel in any way, links in the description. You can become a Patreon, like a bunch of you already are. You can also just support the stream, like Blessing of Rolo does. And, of course, you can super chat like Ricky Hansen, my man, has been doing all night. So thank you very much, mate. Also, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I may try and get one more live in before the season starts. I can't promise anything because I am on holiday, but I've got to do stuff with the family, got to see people, all that kind of stuff. So I will try and get some content up as well, but the next video will explain the lack of content. So make sure to check that out. It may not necessarily be 100% FPL, but check that out if you want to know why the content has dropped off a bit. I've been J&O. This has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.